movie begins in prison with a prisoner named Frank Adrian. He was accused of stealing €2 million. He shares a cell with a man named Jean-Louis Morel, who was imprisoned for molesting a minor. One night, 3 male prisoners came to Adrian's cell where they were deliberately harassing Louis. Once inside, they asked Adrian to come out, and he did. He stood in front of the door, and it seemed like the guys had paid the warden to let them in, but Adrian couldn't stand like that. So he decided to stop them and fight them all, and as a result of the fighting between them, the guards were able to stop them, and the fight ended. The next day, Adrian and Louis's wives came to visit them. During the meeting, Adrian's wife, Anna, asked him where he had hidden the money, but he did not tell her because he did not trust her. Anna brought her daughter with her because she missed her father so much. But he got angry with her because he didn't want his little daughter to see him in prison. Despite his anger, he could not hide his longing for her, so he embraced her immediately, while Louis's wife was telling him that his lawyer was doing his best to get him released, especially since the victim's family, who filed a lawsuit against him, dropped all their demands. Later in the prison, while the prisoners were watching the show that was held every month, and Adrian was among them, suddenly he was attacked by another prisoner and threatened him in order to tell him where he hid the stolen money, because he will be released soon, so he wanted to take the money from him. But Adrian wasn't ready for that. The man hurt Adrian and he passed out. Then he was transferred to the prison health clinic, where he remained unconscious for 3 days. When he regained consciousness, Louis was sitting next to him. He tells him that he was released because everyone has dropped the charges against him, and he thanks him for helping him earlier, and gives him his phone number and offers to help if he needs anything. Before leaving the room, Adrian asked for his help to meet his wife. He tells him that the money he stole is hidden in his late father's grave. Later, before Louis leaves, he goes to the bathroom to grab the remaining hair on Adrian's comb, and it turns out he took it for his later crimes. A few days later, the former police chief, Manuel, came to visit Adrian. He explains that he came because he knew Adrian was in the same cell as Louis, and he wanted to get information about Louis. He told him that he wasn't very close to him and he thought he was just an ordinary and innocent person. But Manuel denies it and says Louis is a serial killer and can act like a pure and innocent person in front of his victims. Manuel knew this because he once tried to save a victim from a fire set on fire by Louis, and he tried to arrest him. But until now he didn't have any hard evidence. After Adrian heard that, he couldn't believe it, especially since he entrusted his wife and daughter to Louis. On the other hand, a police officer named Claire is conducting an operation to arrest a drug dealer. She was in disguise to hide her identity. She made sure of the man and then immediately ordered her team to ambush. At that time, the drug dealers were arrested and the guy was easily defeated by Claire. Meanwhile, Adrian was confused and worried, still thinking about the safety of his wife and daughter. He was doing his job as usual, when the prison guard and 3 prisoners came and deliberately threatened him because they were behind the money he had stolen. He again gets involved in a fight, but fortunately he manages to beat them up and escapes disguised as a guard. On the other hand, Louis and his wife were wandering around looking for the girl who would be their new target. He witnesses news about Adrian escaping from prison. But his wife is worried because she fears Adrian will find out what they are doing. As for Louis, he was confident that Adrian would not harm them. It turns out that they kidnapped Adrian's daughter. At the time, Luciani's police chief was asking Claire to find and arrest Adrian. At first she refused because she was solving a drug gang case with her team, but he forced her to do so, so she had no choice. At that time, Adrian arrived at his house to meet his wife and child. He found the house empty. He thought they had gone somewhere. So he left a message for her that he would look for them soon. At that time, Claire and her team surrounded the place. At first, they did not find Adrian, but she, after finding the letter, searched the area again and found Adrian and pointed her weapon at him, then asked her colleague for help. But Adrian managed to escape by jumping out of the window onto a fast train. In the evening, he went to his father's grave to check for the money. Unfortunately, he finds nothing, and instead he finds two bodies, which means that Lewis is the culprit. He felt so sorry for his wife and daughter that he called Lewis and asked him about his daughter. Lewis replies that she is safe with him, but if he tries to find her, he will hurt her. After the call ended, Lewis made a fake scene by putting Adrian's DNA on the clothes of the victim he killed. It turns out that Lewis deliberately accused Adrian, and the police believed him to be the perpetrator of the crime. Meanwhile, Lewis put the body where Adrian was hiding. The next day, the police searched the place where he was hiding. They found the bodies of two teenage girls who were cremated. One of the girls was the daughter of an ex-police officer named Thomas, who they found there, and he was very distressed. The police suspect Adrian of being the perpetrator, but Claire has doubts, especially when she learns that Adrian's only crime is robbery. At this time, Adrian was going to Manuel's house to find information about Lewis to be able to find him. Although Manuel is retired, but he conducted private investigations to find Lewis to imprison him, but he has not yet received solid evidence. He has received the bodies of two suspected Lewis victims, but the DNA found on the victims was not his. Then he gave the phone number he called earlier. After that, Manuel went to the police station. It tracks the signal from the phone number using their tracking system. While Adrian is at Manuel's house, he suddenly hears the police siren and realizes that they know where he is, so he decides to run away. He grabbed Claire and told the two police officers to lay down their weapons, then told her that he hadn't and that the real culprit was Lewis. Once he clarified everything, he immediately ran away. Fortunately, Manuel arrives in time and saves Adrian using his car. Police shoot Manuel, but he decides to sacrifice himself so that Adrian can escape, and he gives him Lewis's address. Adrian jumped out of the car and used a stolen car. The next morning, he went to a pharmacy in the area. He remembers that Lewis is very dependent on one type of medication. On the other hand, Claire begins to investigate all the files related to Lewis because she feels that Adrian is not a murderer. Elsewhere, while Lewis and his wife are at the market with Adrian's daughter, a beautiful girl he once loved appears. He decided that she would be the next victim. On the way home, they pretend they want the address of the hospital and ask the girl to help them. At first, the girl hesitated to get into the car, but she accepted when she saw a child with them. She thought that they were not dangerous people, but after passing the supposed place, she began to realize that she was being kidnapped. Then she started fighting and managed to escape into the forest. Unfortunately, Lewis was able to find the young woman and get rid of her immediately. The next day, Adrian notices that Lewis has walked out of the pharmacy, so he immediately goes to track him down. After chasing him by car for a long time, he finally found his home, which was in a very quiet mountainous area. Later on, he starts sneaking into the house to get his daughter. At the same time, Claire also arrives because she's starting to suspect him. Adrian was very relieved when he saw his daughter safe and sound, but unfortunately, just as he was about to run away, Lewis and his wife suddenly appeared and pointed the gun at him. Luckily, Claire arrives in the nick of time, but he manages to shoot her and immediately goes in pursuit of Adrian, who has run up the hill to hide his daughter. Claire was still alive and she promptly beat his wife. At that time, Louis managed to find Adrian. Then he shot him in front of his daughter, but Adrian still managed to stand up and grab the tree. Louis aims the gun at him, but fails to do so and is killed by Claire. Claire and Luciani were trying to save Adrian, but Thomas, the father of one of the victims of Louis's crime, appeared. He shoots Adrian, believing he is the one who killed his daughter. The next day, they go to the river area to find Adrian and Louis's dead bodies. Claire manages to find Louis's body. Finally, after 3 months, Claire goes to visit Adrian's daughter in the orphanage. The movie ends with Adrian's daughter holding a small heart-shaped piece of paper that Adrian sent. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more, hit the like button to support us, and leave a comment if you'd like us to review your favorite movie. Until the next time, take care.